Right, thank you. What's very interesting is next to
presentation. Now we continue with the next presentation, and we focus on travel destinations. And Heidi Schaaf will accompany you and lead you through this afternoon. Heidi. Very exciting, and it remains exciting. We have two exciting presentations still this afternoon. And yes, thank you. Thank you for your moderation. I'm back tomorrow at 5 p.m. I'm here in the hall 1. And now I leave the floor to you. Thanks a lot. It's a pleasure for me to lead you through this afternoon. And we now continue with this topic that we already mentioned this morning, where we're talking about working models and flexible working hours. And we will deal with the question if flexible working hours are possible in tourism. And Maria Hechenbichler worked on this topic, and she analyzed different working models. And I would like to warmly welcome her here on stage and pass the floor to her. Thanks a lot. I would like to tell you something about working models, flexible working hours in tourism, and the organization or organizing of working hours. And this is a topic we have to deal with also in tourism for some years now, and it is a topic that we have to face due to the lack of staff and the decline and the reduction of available staff in tourism. So we are lacking employees in the tourism branch, and Rolling Pin, the survey, and Mr. Bichler from Rolling Pin at the FAO Congress presented the survey on the topic of employees who left a company. And they were asked the question, why did you leave the company? What was your motivation? And most employees said that the working hours were unsatisfactory, and they left because of this. So I think we need a solution in this area for the lack of workforce and experts regarding the organization of working hours. And here we have to deal with the question to which extent can we implement it in tourism. So the topic of flexible working hours. And we worked on this on flexible working models, and we concluded in this list. So maybe some of you find this not very realistic. But after this short insight, this short input that I will give you now, I would like to ask you to look at it differently, to have a second look at it, and maybe try to find a solution and try to start a solution process. So, of course, we have only limited time at our disposal regarding this topic, but I think it is a first input for you to work on it. So the full-time working model is the most this most popular one or most known one, so the one of 40 hours per week, 6 days per week. So we asked ourselves the question, 5 or 5.5 days or 6 days per week. Should we still continue to offer this? Yes, we said yes, because some people coming from abroad working in Austria, they want this 6 days day week. And some of the tourist experts who work in the western part of Austria, they go there only for a season and they want to work there for 6 days per week. So my colleague also said it before. He talked to a client at a company who changed back to a 6-day week. So it is something that we should consider in the future. So sometimes 6 and sometimes 6 hours or 8 hours per week. So some tourism companies already took over this model, so of the 4 days a week, and some already implemented this 4-day week. This is a further possibility to organize working hours or a work week. So some we looked at it, had a closer look at it, and analyzed it, how many companies already implemented it. Luxury family Leamos in Großau already took over this working model of 4-day week. So I talked to the HR manager, and he said that since they implemented it, more candidates apply for a job, and they have better, but also better trained employees. And in Alpenrose, they have less candidates. In Leamos, they have more candidates that apply for this working model. Then we have the 5 hours hotel chain, which also took over the 4-day-a-week model some time ago. They did it in a test period. They tested now for 3 months, and then later they will decide on how they want to continue. Another working model is the part-time working model that is already well diffused and really popular. Sometimes so you can work 5 or less days per week, less than 40 hours per week. So our clients said that, and the companies which we talked said that this is not a really realistic model, because in tourism, in the tourism branch, this is not something that can be implemented or in only a few companies. So the working time model where you work for a certain period of time, and so you work, for example, this is another possibility, the employee works one day full-time, and then he gets some days off, and again works a full-time employment for another days. And then, for example, they work for 1 week, and then for 40 hours, and then later on they have 1 or 2 weeks off. So you should also consider the calculation period to avoid supplement payments. So back to part-time working model. Here we found an example. Holzleiten in Obsteig is a hotel that counts on part-time working models. They have a team who works only in the morning to do the breakfast. Another team works at lunch, and then another third team in the evening. And they are also full-time employed. And also the cleaning or housekeeping team has this same model. So the acquisition of employees was more difficult, but they have less employees. Now they need less employees, and they do not make rooms for employees available in their hotel. So they don't have employees rooms. Only for maybe some apprentices who need, who cannot, or who don't have a car, or are not, who cannot drive every day back and forth. And then we have the flexible working model. How does it work? An employee cannot decide in tourism or in a hotel if he wants to start at 7 or 9. Maybe this is not realistic in this area, but maybe it could be an idea or realistic working model for the administrative area of a hotel, for those who work in the office. So for those of you who don't know it, this flexible working model consists of 3 parts. So it's the framework working hour, where framework working model where the employee can work within a certain period of time. Then the core working time is the time where the employee needs to be present, and the normal working time is the ones that we normally use or normally know. So from the end of the core time and the beginning of the frame or the end of the framework time, they can decide, so the employees can decide on their own when to start work. So for our accountability, for our accountants and our accountability department, it is sometimes an issue because they cannot prepare the schedules in time. Sometimes, normally, we need to prepare them or have them ready 2 weeks in advance, and sometimes something happens. Some people get ill, or also weather conditions can have an impact on the working or the necessity, the working necessity of a company. And now also during the pandemic, of course, there were some changes, and then the company would need the people on call. So this means that people need to be on call and on call duty, and the employee needs to be ready. So it can be in a certain, can be wherever he or she wants, and should be then available on call duty. So we have already 2 clients who offer this working model, this on-call duty, and we asked them how they implemented it. So we have 2 variants: 50% salary for the time the employees on call duty without working, and then or a monthly flat rate for the on-call duty. So there is no fixed or no law on this. You can do it or agree on it with your employees. So there are, according to law, there is has been established that 10 days can be organized that way flexibly in a company. So another working model that is became something popular, home office, and during the last 2 years we noticed and we experienced that this is possible, and we saw that we can do many things from the home office. And of course, in the hotel industry, this is not always possible. The housekeeper cannot clean the room from his home office, of course, but in the administrative area, accountability, booking, the bookings can be also done from the home office, administrative activities done by superiors, managers. All these tasks can also be carried out at home from the home office, or the chef de cuisine can do the list, the list, and for the suppliers, the food list, and so on at home from his home office. So this means working from home, of course, as we all know, but you can also have a flexible, you can arrange it in a flexible way, do 50% at home and the rest in the office. That's also possible, of course. Then we have the working time accounts. Here we have a model that we have 3 different variants, the daily, weekly, and monthly working times. And within a certain period of time that needs to be agreed between the parties, the employee needs to carry out a certain work and certain working hours. So also here, to avoid supplementary payments, we have to consider also the calculation period, as I said already before. But for parents, for example, it is a good solution to save then time or have time during the summer holidays when their children are at home, and to have then their holidays during the school holidays. Also for companies, this can be a possibility if they have 2 good employees, to retain them, to keep them in the company. And as I already said, regarding the calculation period, you have to consider some certain aspects to avoid supplementary payments. But if it is well organized and structured, this is a possible and good working model. Then we have the job sharing. In job sharing, 2 or more employees share a full-time position. It can be that they both carry out the same tasks and work one after the other, or they divide or subdivide different areas of competence, and each of them has his or her own area of competence, and they substitute each other when one is ill or having a vacation. What is important here is that they communicate well, so clear communication is key in this case. So this is also interesting, this model for leaders, for managers, people in a management position who you want to keep in the company. So for example, a manager, a woman who is working in your company, and now she's pregnant, and after her pregnancy, she will not be able to work full-time again immediately. And in order to retain her as your employee and to keep her in your business, it would be good to have another second manager with whom she can share this job or this position. And so they can do this role or this position together. This is something a very good idea to do if you want to keep or someone in your business, because it's not so easy having good people in these positions. So Some of them can be used also for hotel and hospitality industry. I mentioned some that already do it, 25 Hours Hotel. Naked Indigo is a restaurant in Innsbruck. They also offer the 4-day week and different part-time models. Why did we choose these ones? Because they do something very specific, very special in the working hours organization. The schedule can be organized and structured by the employees themselves. So they only establish some certain conditions and some specific like working time and so on, and then the employees can decide on their own, or they can register themselves in the working plan. So, and they can also change working hours, so they can communicate with each other and organize their own working days. Then we have another client that's in Innsbruck who created a new office in St. Christoph. They have a hotel, and in the mid-season, of course, it is not that interesting there for the employees, and so they give them on the Alberg Hospiz hotel. They have a centralized office, and there the employees can work from there. And then Holzleiten, this is not our client, but I did some research, and I found that they offer a special working model where the clients work 12 hours a day and for 4 days per week, and it is not always only the issue to find employees, but also to have rooms available for them. So the employees are occupying the room only for 4 days, and then they do the change, and then the next employee is occupying the room. So this is for employees who maybe are not that far away from the workplace, and like maybe 300 kilometers, and can go back home even if it's only for 3 days or 3.5 days. So now what did we do? We did an analysis on the situation, on the starting situation. What is the situation? We took an example. We took a company in Tyrol, which is open for 365 days. We calculated it according to their different service departments. They have 51 employees at the moment. They have expenses of 1.9 million euros, and the salary costs are close to 31,000. And so the first scenario was that we changed the full-time working model of 4 days. So if we put them all on 40 hours per week, we would need 4 employees more, and it would cost even less. So 1 hour per employee would cost less, so from 21 to 20.6 euros per hour. So then we thought in scenario 2, maybe not everyone would agree to reduce the salary, and we reduce it only by 5%. So the salary cost would increase, and the productive hour would cost 21.9 euros per hour. And the third scenario, maybe not all employees agree that they will have 40 hours and a 4-day week. So we left one part with a 40 hours with 6 days, and another 50% was then put to a part-time working model with 3 hours. And so we reduced also the salary costs. We need 54 now with this flexible model. We have 54 employees, expenses of 2.0 million euros, and the productive hour cost 22.3 euros per hour. So only to show you an example, I mentioned it briefly. It depends a lot on the framework conditions and on the company itself, on the number of employees, on the environment where the company is located, and economic prerequisites are also important and need to be considered. Is there a solution for everyone? And no, I think you understood that there is no one solution that everyone can use or that fits or matches every employee, because the employees have different needs and different situations. But it is about a process where we have to adapt to the different conditions, and it needs time, of course, to do all that. Thanks a lot. Dear Mrs. Hechenbichler, I was so excited in the beginning, and I missed out something. You're a leader and trainer and consultant, and you are dealing with a lot of people every day. So what would be your suggestion if you should tell others what are the best working models to be implemented? So if it is about working models, I would say the first step is not to decide immediately to change to a 4-day week, but make a step back, sit down and think of what would be okay for you. If I'm not convinced as an entrepreneur myself, then it is hard to implement it or to realize it. So the framework conditions then need to be considered, the employees, the needs of the employees need to be considered. So if you would have one wish to politicians, to politics, what would you tell the state secretary, for example? Our wish would be the following. If we could extend the calculation periods for the maximum working hours, working times, we would extend it to 26 work weeks in order to make these working time accounts possible, or, for example, to create blocks where you work and then have time off. We have 26 weeks for full-time and 13 weeks for part-time jobs. So here we should maybe extend it for making the calculation period easier, and also to admit people from abroad also as a workforce. Thanks a lot, Mrs. Hechenbichler. You are here also now in the afternoon, so the entire afternoon you are still here for further discussions. And so Mrs. Hechenbichler, I said Hechenleitner, and so you're still here the entire afternoon. So if you should have questions or something, so she's ready to answer the questions for you. Thanks a lot for your presentation.